cooperative is because I believe that it is a cooperative that all Filipino online professionals own, control, and manage.
So, the reason kaya po ako sumali sa FOPSCo, kailangan natin ng isang sistema at isang samahan na makakatulong sa bawat isa.
This cooperative is a group na pwede silang sumama para mas magabayan sila sa kanilang freelancing journey.
Ako sumali dihan sa FOPSCo kasi para makabuligak sa ato kapwa mga freelancers, and ito talaga ang passion and my mission.
I joined FOPSCo kasi for me, lahat ng ginagawa ko sa FOPSCo is a privilege ko siya tinitignan eh. Kasi once in a lifetime in history na bigyan ka ng chance na mag-contribute.
Stepping stone na rin to para maabot yung goal
ko. The vision of the organization aligns with my personal vision, which is to develop and nurture an organization within Zamboanga City that provides much needed support for our online workers.
I joined FOPSCo because the people I've met have the same values, vision, and mission as mine, and that is to provide assistance to those who would like to jumpstart their career as a freelancer.
One of the reasons why I joined FOPSCo is because as a freelancer, I think it's important for us to have access to training, whether free or paid.
Wanted our individual reputations to have a collective reputation for excellence.
I wanted to be part of an organization that would be a pioneer group of individuals who will be working to promote online freelancing here in the Philippines.
The reason why I joined this organization is that I saw their mission and vision towards helping all Filipino freelancers.
I choose FOPSCo because we learn and grow as a community to help also others.
Feel more safe and secure knowing that my knowledge and skills will only come from the most renowned and experienced online freelancers and racketeras here in the Philippines.
I joined FOPSCo because I saw the potential growth is not just reaching one's goals and being successful, but there is camaraderie.
I am very inspired with their achievements and advocacy in promoting and helping Filipino freelancers.
Want to learn FOPSCo because of two things. Number one, I want to help freelancers to get a job. And number two, I want to learn more from you.
I hope that here we will all grow together.
We grow together.
Alright, so thank you for that, Sydney. Again, welcome to FOPSCo Academy. Good evening. That's really a big yes. We really are growing together. So again, this wouldn't be possible without the collaboration of FOPSCo Media and the Filipino Online Professional Service Cooperative. And for this webinar, this is for our FOPSCo members, the ICT graduates, and aspirant freelancers who want to upskill, explore, and acquire new skills when it comes to online professional industry. And let me just remind you of our house rule. Please put your phone on silence mode, mute unnecessary noise that can interfere our webinar or session for tonight. And we are seeking for your active participation with this session. And with that, let me call on Miss Sydney. Hi Sydney, magandang gabi sa'yo. Kumusta ka na?
Hello sir, good evening. Okay naman po. Kayo po, kumusta?
Okay na okay ako. Kahit na medyo busy and blessed kasi medyo maraming mga ganap sa buhay. But still, laban pa rin. Be thankful pa rin sa lahat. And I hope safe tayo lahat. And sige partner, kunin mo na ang presentation. And ikaw nang bahala magpakilala ng ating speaker for tonight. Go ahead.
Yes. Hello everyone. I hope okay din kayong lahat katulad namin. And welcome sa FOPSCo Academy where we shared free webinars pero pwedeng ipantapat sa mga paid ones. Di ba, Sir Dennis? Yes.
Agree ako dyan.
Yes. Well, tonight, isa na namang exclusive sharings ang aming hatid sa inyo from our napaka-generous na speaker. He is a passionate Cebuano filmmaker and a university professor. He has joined and won awards in local He has also been freelancing in graphic design, videography, and video editing since 2017. He also founded the Watchdog, his online advocacy for media and information literacy, and co-founded Asian Production, a local film and events organizing team where he is the creative director. Currently, he is editing his research on internet addiction and its relationship with social dysfunction while doing his freelance part-time and full-time work. So let us all welcome again Mr. Lester Kyle Paes. Good evening, sir.
Hello, good evening.
Yes.
Hi Kyle, welcome to FOPSCo Academy. Again,
Hello.
thank you pinagbigyan mo kami.
Of course naman.
Salamat.
It's nice to share really what you know, di ba?
Okay. Please take the presentation na meron ka. Go ahead.
Okay. For today, I will be sharing my screen. I will be discussing the freelance cycle with the techniques in dealing with difficult clients. We have encountered a lot of, especially if you guys are really into freelancing and have been doing freelancing for quite some time, and makakita or experience talaga natin ang napakaraming different clients. It's also good that you, as a freelancer, as a creative professional, you also need to, or it's not really necessary, but it would be better if you have a workflow that you are following. And this workflow that I will be sharing to you, this is applicable to almost any freelancing jobs. But the examples that I will be sharing to you guys will be mostly on probably graphic design, because that is what I'm currently pursuing as a freelancing career. But I hope na I can share other experience besides the graphic design later on. So this is the title, the freelance cycle, the techniques in dealing with difficult clients. So let's start first with the freelance cycle. Ano nga ba yung freelance cycle? So before that pala, let's determine sino nga ba dito ang involved sa freelance cycle. Sino nga ba si client at saka si clientele? Si client, it's a person or organization using the service of a lawyer or other professional person or a company. This is based on the dictionary. So ito si client. Siya yung gumagamit ng service ng mga freelancer or ni clientele. Si clientele naman, as mentioned, siya naman yung nagsuserve sa customers as of a professional person or shop considered collectively a group or body of clients. So they serve the clients. So as a freelancer, it's important that you also know what's your niche, diba? In my case, that would be graphic design and video production. So I hope as of now you already know your niche in terms of freelance or what you're good about, because that will determine your career. That will determine how you will become an expert in that field someday. So there's actually a lot of niche that you can try in freelancing. Of course, there's a graphic design, content writing, video production, cinematography, photography, research. Medyo hindi masyado mabenta yung research na yon. But content writing, social media marketing, those are just a few. So this is the freelance cycle. We start with the definition, the creation, the feedback, and the delivery phase. So these phases, you will encounter this the moment that you grab your prospect. Bali, when a client starts to sign the contract that you have given. Importante that you have a contract on hand and that both you know the clientele and the client relationship, you agree to a certain deliverable. When we say deliverable, ito yung mga service na gagawin mo para kay client. So it's important na you are on the same page, you know the deadline, no, the duration of your service is clear, the payment is clear within that agreement or contract. So the definition phase, it consists of the brief. When we say brief, ito yung briefing, no? The first step in freelancing process is the brief. Freelancers learn about the needs of the client, and this step is critical since the freelancer needs to gather as much information as possible about his or her client, the company of he's trying to serve, or the project expectations. The creative brief is the foundation of the project, and it will significantly affect the following steps. So if you do not get all the needed information in this step, then that will be very hard for you in the following steps because number one, you'll be asking a lot of questions, no? And in terms of our generation today, di ba, online usually ang mga freelancing jobs ngayon, and ako napaka what you call this, slow ng process if online compared to the face-to-face. Kasi nga, di ba, for instance, sa face-to-face, you can directly ask your client what this is about, what are you expecting, what do you want to achieve, and then the client will just answer directly, instantly. Whereas sa online, you need to call them, you need to send an email. Most of the time, it's email or text message or WhatsApp, Skype, diba? And most of the time, it takes time for them to reply. So the process of you achieving that deliverables, the process is very slow, no? So compared to face-to-face. That's why the briefing phase, dito pa lang na phase, you already have gathered all the necessary information for you to complete your deliverables. The brief is often or sometimes often called the creative brief, is developed via email or phone. This has two approach, and sometimes it has a disadvantage. Of course, as I mentioned kanina, di ba, the freelancer needs to structure the information after gathering it, and the data sometimes might get lost, especially if you're doing it online, no? Kasi pwede siya ma-delete or whatsoever. And when you structure your data, sometimes kasi may mga clients na they don't know what they want, but they know it, no, when they see it. Mga ganun na clients, sometimes they're explaining vaguely of what they want to achieve, and you need to structure them out. You need to list the things that are, you feel like this is what they want. So you need to structure them out. You need to list them first. You need to list all those data and gather that data, interpret it so that it would become a whole information. So somehow that information, based on the client's data that he gave you in the briefing phase, ito yung mag-determine kung anong what the client wants to achieve at the end. So the second phase, ayun, is research. Di ba, nag-gather mo na yung data, you already know what you're trying to achieve. Of course, it's important for you to ask the right questions. The briefing phase, no, it offers a lot of information. Regardless, there are always topics that you shouldn't include, such as, of course, you do not include or you do not ask your client about this. What is your what does your competitor look like? For instance, ang client mo is si Jollibee. Siyempre, you wouldn't ask Jollibee kung ano yung style ni McDonald's, ano yung style ni KFC, di ba? Because they are competitors and it's very awkward na you're asking these kinds of questions to the person who you should not be trying to ask them in the first place. Of course, you need to look unbiased to the face of your client. So, research is the key for you to look unbiased, despite na you still need to achieve a certain level of information so that you may know what are the trends, what are the strengths and weaknesses in their field of work. The goal of the research step is to learn more about your client's competitors. Your rival designs can be a good source of inspiration. You shouldn't copy them, but analyze what works, what doesn't work, and how you can make improvements. Just like what I said, ano ba ang, for instance, your client is Jollibee. What is he or what does, ano ba yung mga competitors ni Jollibee? As I mentioned kanina, si KFC at saka si McDo. Ano ba yung meron kay KFC at saka meron kay McDo, pero wala kay Jollibee na hinahanap ng mga tao? At saka ano naman yung mga strengths and weaknesses ni KFC at saka ni McDo na maybe you can apply that to Jollibee? What are the common design trends in the field, no? In the fast food field. So what are the common designs? What are the common trends? You may know that through the research phase. Ultimately, you want to be different, but learn about the common tones, styles, and you can probably use a simple Google search to research your competitors. So you need to stand out also. Brainstorming. No? Once you have a good understanding of your client and his or her competitors, it's time to generate ideas. You can use a pen and paper to map out the purpose of your work, but honestly, what I would like to do in this phase or in this step is to pin a lot of images, a lot of inspirations into one board. We call that a mood board. This is in terms of graphic design. So mood board creation, ano ba yung look and feel na gusto mong i-achieve para kay client? Does it solve the problem that the client is looking for? So you create this mood board so that you can create or you can see visually the inspiration, and then you can create your own original artwork afterwards. Drafting, of course, before you create, using the digital tools. For example, in graphic design, before you create a logo, it's important that you sketch it out first, because there are disadvantages when you create logo directly on the digital tools that you're using. Probably you're using Adobe Illustrator to create a logo. There's a lot of disadvantages to that. Number one, it's because you don't have the creative freedom to design a logo, because you're limited to the tools that you are trying to navigate. So it takes time, no? Whereas kung nagsa-sketch ka, you have the creative freedom. You can draw and you can instantly create whatever you want in terms of the design of the logo, the overall look and feel of the logo. Afterwards, once you draft that, you probably you scan or you take a picture of what you have sketched, what you have drawn, and then upload it to your computer, to your Google Drive, for as long as at the end it will be inside the software that you are using to create the logo. Now, this time, You will now be tracing this one. I often use Adobe Illustrator to trace out the sketches of the logos that I made, and then when sketching, when drafting, no, that's the time na you filter out all the ugly details. You make them, you refine the design. Ayun. Until you create semi-final na design. The production process, now after you have shared your best drafts with your client, he or she will provide you with the initial feedback. That this applies to not only to graphic design, sometimes it applies to content writing, because sometimes there are structures of our, or the organizations of how we write our contents, diba? Sometimes it may look good for you, but it doesn't look good for the client, because they are trying to achieve a certain angle, and para sa kanila, you haven't hit that kind of angle yet. So it really depends on what field you are working in. After you share your best drafts with your client, he or she will provide you with the initial feedback. Now you can finally start working out on the final outputs in this stage. It will be important to come up with different variations of your outputs. That way, you'll allow clients to have options. I was supposed to say mock-ups, no, but that's part of the deliverables. I will be discussing that later. Refine your work, no? As I mentioned kanina, sa final pa lang, you are already refining all the ugly details of your work. And then after you have finally got the feedback from your client, then consider those feedbacks. Ano ba yung mga sinasabi nila? If they said na, can you make the logo bigger? Can you make the colors pop? Syempre, sometimes, no, it doesn't what do you call this? It doesn't follow the guidelines of the graphic design. It doesn't follow the principles. So sometimes you might want to educate your clients, but sila mismo yung ayaw, gusto nilang ma-follow yung gusto nila, even if it's bad for the brand of their company or of their ano ba yung gusto nila, individual, a company, a team, or organizations. It's bad for the brand, no, for the client, but you have nothing to do about it. Siya naman yung client eh. The end decision comes from the client. So anyway, it's not your fault when your design looks bad because of your client. We will be discussing that later on how to deal with this difficult clients. This one, this is almost the delivery phase. No, when presenting, as I mentioned kanina, yung mga mock-ups, it's the way you're presenting your work will affect the number of revisions as well as the related feedbacks. Of course, it also depends on your clients. Being able to tell a story about your outputs will help you influence and convince your clients. So, if ever you feel like this design is good, and then what he or she suggested, what your client suggested, will look bad, then offer to create mock-ups and let them look, or let them compare what looks best, what looks better for the output. Let's say, for example, the logo. He wants very saturated, very vibrant colors for the logo. And for you as a graphic designer, of course, alam mo na that does not follow the guidelines or the principles of graphic design. So you show them a mock-up. When we say mock-up, this is somewhat a photo or a 3D rendering of your logo. For instance, your logo, the logo that the client wants to will be put into sandba outside their building. So you try to 3D render your logo and put it outside the building, so that the client will have a vision of what will it look like if nasa ano na siya, nakalagay na siya doon mismo sa labas ng building, sa establishment nila. So if the client still thinks that the saturated and vibrant colors of the logo it looks good for their company, then nasa kanila na yon. But if he or she realized, if your client realized na it's better pala na ganito lang yung colors, naka CINE-U yung colors niya. So ayun, at least you're trying to help your client achieve a certain goal. No, you're trying to educate them na this one's better based on my experience, based on the market, based on the professional aspects. This one is better and will help you in the long run. Ganon. Those are some points in the presenting. Now, after you present, after the client, you revise all the client's feedback. It's the last step, no? This is the last step of the phase, the client approval. In most cases, you'll get a lot of revision requests and plenty of unstructured feedback. Hence, you must gather the feedback, structure it, and implement the needed changes to establish an approval process. It's easier said than done. It's actually very frustrating, no? Especially for the client that doesn't know what he actually wants. Let's discuss that one later on. Normally, revisions and feedbacks are handled via email, which often results in hundreds of emails, sometimes a lot of missed calls. If you don't have a good method for structuring new feedback, talagang you will get lost in the process. So it's important that you know how to understand the feedback of the client. You know how to read between the lines. What does the client what is he trying to say? Ganon. Let's say, for example, he wants to look professional, but it's very vague because there's a lot of professional looks or professional design trends when it comes to graphic design. So you need to understand, you need to read between the lines, so that somehow you would create a good impression for your clients if you're able to successfully understand what he was trying to say. Of course, after all the revisions, client approval, it's now time for the final delivery. Congratulations, you've delivered the final outputs. The client is happy. It's time to send an invoice. By the way, it's important for the client delivery kung ano yung nasa deliverables mo. Let's say, for example, so yung nasa deliverables mo is a logo. Logo lang. No? That's it. It's important na you also send them a mock-up of the logo, a vector file of the logo, the project file of the logo, a PDF file, a PNG file, a JPEG file, a transparent logo. It's important na you give them variations of the logo in case that they will be looking for it, because in most cases the clients will not be looking for that, but in some cases, especially if the client is very or is familiar with what we do as graphic designers, they will be looking for these files. So or even if they're not looking for this certain files, even if they're not looking for the vector file of your output, it still speaks loud about the quality of your service. So a good service will really influence you to have more clients in the future, because that certain client will, what you call this, i-advertise ka niya sa mga kakilala niya because your service is very good. So yun, we already discussed the client or what we call this,
the cycle,
the process.
Yes.
Anong nga yun? I forgot the freelance cycle. Yun.
Yes.
We already discussed the freelance cycle. Now there are a lot of types of clients that we encounter in the freelancing industry. In some cases, you might encounter difficult clients. How do you think do you deal with the difficulty or the challenge these clients offer you or give you. Number one, there's a certain client that we would like to call the Mr. I'm not really sure what I want. So this type of client has a constant change of heart. The other day he wants this one. That today he wants another one, and the next day uh, he wants the first design pala. So uh, he has really a constant change of heart. Says one thing on a call, but has a completely different opinion in an email an hour later. So what do you do when you encounter this kind of client? Well, get everything in writing. Once an approach is decided upon, reject major course correction after the fact. Uh, One thing about this one, it's important that instead of voicemail, instead of like physically talking, you get uh, an email of what he really wants. Maybe you can try to say to the client on call na, client, can you send me a detailed instruction via email so that I will not be or I will not get lost of this new revision. Now, if you have put that into writing, and then you revise, no, you revised already what uh, his feedbacks were all about, and then uh, after you presented the revision, tapos sasabihin niya na no, this isn't what I want pala. I want something new. I want something bigger. I want something better. Then you can reject, or if you cannot reject, let's say for example, you really need that money na offer ng client, then you may say that creating a new design would cost you another would be cost it what do you call this, iba yung presyo no ng ganitong revision, because technically that's not a revision anymore, that's you're creating a new design, di ba?
Additional charges.
Yes, additional charge, ganun. Thank you, Sir Dance. You may ask for additional charges because this is another service kasi, this is another design that you're working. No, you already had a uh, 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 let's say multiple designs. You already have multiple designs, and based on your contract, let's say for example, on your contract it's stated na the client is only allowed for 3 revisions, and then he already reached his limit for that certain revision, and then gusto pa niya na i-revise kasi nga he's not yet satisfied, then you can ask for an additional charge. There's also another client that we would like to call the miss I assumed this was included. No, instances or insistence on getting a little bit more out of your team each time you talk. Frequent requests to expand the scope of the project. No, this is a very red flag when you encounter this kind of client. I would suggest that tell them na this doesn't work for us. Maybe we could look for other freelancers to outsource this kind of job. You can say that if you really cannot handle this kind of client, but if you if you want the challenge, you could simply say na based on our contract, these are the following are the only deliverables that we are going to offer to you. If you want to have another output, or if you want to have an extra deliverable, then we have this price list. Now show them a price list so that they cannot argue anymore na they assume that this is included whatsoever. So show them a price list. Now if he or she says na I assume this was included, bucket you're giving me an extra charge for this one, well, you refer back to the contract that you signed. Yun lang. That's how simple. But sometimes it's very irritating. They keep on insisting that this is part. So this is your job. Why can't you do this, diba? So if you cannot handle this kind of challenge, it's better to tell them na As of the moment, we can no longer provide for your service because we also have other clients to attend to that are also paying the correct amount of charge or the correct price for our services. If you want to really consume our service, what you call this, to what they call this, kung gusto mo talagang kunin yung service namin, yes, yan, if you really want to get our service, then you have to pay an extra charge. If not, then we suggest that maybe you can contact this person. You know, you suggest a person, you refer a person na kakilala mo, na you know he or she can do that certain deliverable. That way, you're not only giving yourself stress-free environment, you're also helping another friend. This one, Mr. I need this done yesterday. Naku, I have a lot of clients na yung mga projects na ina-offer nila is very rushed. It's time pressured. Actually, it's simple to manage these kinds of clients. But let's determine first, ano ba yung ginagawa ng mga ganitong client. This client has a general lack of awareness of the space-time continuum. Believes that simply having ideas means that the work is completed. For instance, nandun pa kayo sa client brief, nag-brief pa si client. After your client brief, of course, maganda yung momentum kasi nga you understand the client and you somehow make him know that you understand his needs and you know how to solve that his problem that he's encountering. So afterwards, probably a few hours, the day after, sasabihin niya, any update on the output? I need this done yesterday. I thought you were already done. Please contact me as soon as possible. These types of clients are very what they call this? Yes, demanding. Ganun nga. No, they expect na madali lang naman yung work mo. 5 minutes lang naman yan, but hindi mo pa natapos. And kung madali lang pala, bakit hindi na lang ikaw ang gumawa, di ba? Just be straightforward. If they expect the impossible, educate them into reality. For instance, if they said na 5 minutes lang naman yan, madali lang naman yung ginagawa mo, but hindi ka pa tapos, but ang mahal ng presyo mo, mga ganon, those are the common statements that you would encounter to this certain client. And just be straightforward. Sir, with all due respect, this isn't a project that would consume within the 5-minute duration. First, you discuss what's your workflow, how you work in creating those deliverables. So discuss them. In my process, this is what I do. This is my process. To explain them. That is why it doesn't take 5 minutes for me to do this certain project, and it takes or it consumes a lot of money. Number one, because you're not only paying for the labor, you're also paying for my experience, for my expertise, for my the tools that I am using. I am paying for a subscription on Adobe Creative Cloud. Are you willing to pay for that for yourself? If I can give you an alternative price, but here's the thing: you provide me electricity, you provide me food, you provide me laptops, the tools that I need to achieve this project. You provide me the softwares that I'm subscribing. If you can provide those, then I can give you the price that you want. Now, if he cannot give those, then be straightforward. That's why your price is like this, because you have this certain things to pay for yourself, and it's not an easy job. Actually, you have to learn how many years. You have to be familiar with the tools that you are using, diba? That's why I'm very irritated with this with these types of clients. But anyways, yun, that's how you manage those certain clients. This one is related to saan yung client? This magkakapatid sila. Mr. I need this done yesterday, and Mr. Everything is an emergency. Now, this client firmly believes that he is the only client you could possibly have, and therefore deserving 100% of your attention. He calls you even after office
Time.
hours. Sometimes he's calling you 2 a.m., no?
Yeah.
2 in the morning. And then, of course, what people assume that you're sleeping. And in times, you are really sleeping, no? Because there are some freelancers who work night shift because they are more creative at night. But there are some clients also, or there are some freelancers also that they prefer working in office hours. They prefer working in a day shift. So the client needs to know the boundaries of uh, what they call this these boundaries of the projects, the client and clientele relationship. You need to know those boundaries. If you cannot respect that boundary, then I would ask that you provide a what they call this
Agreement
manager, so
or
that it's easier for you to communicate with me, because there are some people, no, especially for freelancers, that they cannot handle the stress that they get from their clients. And one way to solve this problem, it would be beneficial for the both of you in the long run if the client gets an account manager. The account manager will be the one to sort all the things needed, he will be the one to create the timetables, he will be the one to create the deadlines of the project. Now, once you have this account manager, then the stress is lesser, because the account manager is more reasonable, more uh, they are more knowledgeable. They know how to manage the people around them. So it's you explain to your client that you get a what they call this account manager in the long run, if especially if you are outsourcing a lot of uh, projects, then I suggest that you get an account manager for you to be stress free in your job. So that's how medyo simple, but it's really hard to do sometimes. It's hard to stand up from these certain clients. This one, Mrs. We don't have a deadline. Oh wait, it's tomorrow. So flightiness, often in terms of being out of corporate loop. Sometimes sasabihin niya, wala naman tong deadlines. Feel free to deliver anytime you want. And of course, as a freelancer, hindi lang naman siya yung client mo. Since that the project doesn't have a deadline, then of course, uunahin mo yung ibang projects, ibang clients mo that have a deadline. Na let's say for example, may deadline ka bukas, may deadline ka next week. Of course, you give those a priority. Tapos sasabihin an hour after, tatawag si client na kailangan ko pala to bukas, ganon. So if in the first place you agree to a certain timetable, if in the first place sinabi mo na may deadline pala to, then we won't have a problem. What do you do in this situation? So as I mentioned, that you need to agree on a timetable as soon as possible and remain confident in rejecting requests that will endanger the deadlines of other projects from your other clients. So that's simple. Don't hesitate to reject those clients, because again, your mental health, your well-being is more important than the money that you'll be getting from that client. Mahahanap lang yung pera, but your well-being, your stress, your health, it's not going to be replaced by those money. So prioritize yourself. Another client also, the Mr. I don't really care, just do whatever you want. Now, this is one of the best clients that you can encounter. It's not actually
I would agree.
yes, it's not actually the type of client na medyo challenging, but what you can do to this one is to really take advantage of the creative freedom this client gives you. But sometimes, ang disadvantage naman nito is that kagaya ng previous clients, sasabihin niya na this isn't what I'm looking for. Maybe you can try a different approach. Ganito, ganyan. Diba? That's another disadvantage. But in most cases, based on my experience, ito yung mga clients na nagbabayad ng malaki. Tapos they're really giving you the creative freedom. And then afterwards, after you create or you deliver the outputs, wala nang revisions. No, this is really what one of the best things about this certain client. So take advantage again of the creative freedom, and these clients are very rare. So good luck looking for these kinds of clients. Another client is the Mrs. I care so much it hurts. No, he or she comes to the table with an extremely specific approach that there is little room. Sometimes wala nang room for your ideas. So much that that you begin to wonder why she hired you in the first place. Meron ka namang design pala. Why didn't you did this one? Why did you hire me in the first place if you already have a certain design that you want? This client is the exact opposite of this client. No? So sometimes these clients also sila rin yung what do you call this? 'Di ba? These certain clients, ito yung sila yung nagbibigay ng malaki na salary or yun nga, salary. This type of client naman, he or she is the exact opposite. He or she is not giving the correct amount of money. Sometimes it's very small. Tapos wala ka ng room for your creativity. So what do you do in this situation? Well, be clear on what she's trying to accomplish, but don't be afraid to frankly tell them that their approach won't work. So sometimes this a certain client, let's say for example, again, he wants you to make a logo, tapos meron na siyang logo na ginawa, and then that logo again does not adhere to the guidelines of graphic design. So for example, ang line of business nila is a coffee shop. Tapos yung logo na design niya is parang ang layo sa coffee shop. Let's say for example, parang marketplace yung style ng logo nila. So you don't be afraid to frankly tell them na ma'am, sir, this based on my experience, these kinds of logo doesn't really work with the industry that you are in. I suggest you revise this one so that it would be effective in your line of business. So, ganon. Don't be afraid to educate them, to tell them that that their design doesn't work. Now, if they insist na hindi, ganito talaga yung gusto ko, then okay. If that's the case, it's your loss naman. I'm giving you already an opportunity to to have a better logo, to have an effective logo for your company, for your brand. I'm giving an opportunity to really market your business through the logo that I'm proposing. But if that's the case, then let's just follow what you have in mind, and let's see the result afterwards. Ganon. In the end, this kind of client will really go back to you na sasabihin nila, sir, maybe we could revise our logo. As what you said, the logo did not work for us very well, and we want to change this one. We want to have our new brand. So, ganon. Let them what you call this, learn the hard way. But hopefully these clients are very open-minded. But in most cases, unfortunately, they're not. So just deal with them properly. Another one, Mrs. I don't know what I want. This this is the one that I keep on talking about kanina sa design or sa freelance cycle. Mrs. I don't know what I want, but I know it isn't that. Nagpakita ka lang ng example ng logo, inspiration for their business. Let's say for example, hindi naman logo. Let's say for example, nagpakita ka ng poster design for an event that they're trying to, to handle. Sasabihin niya, no, this isn't what I want. My favorite color is color blue, no? And maybe you could incorporate that into your design. What you need to do is to what do you call this? If he or she, if the client is not clear on what he is trying to achieve, then and he is not briefing you, no, he's not giving you any information, critical information to achieve a certain what they call this, in a certain information para ma-achieve mo yung output mo na event poster, then maybe you can say that it might be best that you try to look for other clients because this type of arrangement doesn't work well for me. Na mga certain mga ganun na linyahan that you can tell those clients that it's important kasi na they are or they know in the first place what they are trying to get from you. Now, if they don't know how to or what to get from you, then there's no room for the opportunity. There's no room for the project to continue because in the first place wala namang briefing na ganap. What you can do, you can another thing that you can do is you can help them try to look for a specific look and feel or specific things that they need to achieve, and then you charge them. You charge them extra for that because let's say for example that's your consultancy fee or your professional fee. Ma'am, I know that you are trying to held an event. May I know what this event is all about? What this is what are you trying to accomplish in this event? What are the inspirations? What are the types of audience that are going to come to this event? Is this going to be a musical event? Is this going to be a film showing? Is this going to be a birthday party, a debut? Is this going to be a funeral, whatsoever? Diba? Those certain information that would really, give you an idea of what they are trying to achieve. If you help them get or if you help them realize what they want, then charge them extra. Ma'am, I will be charging you extra for the consultation that I have given you earlier, blah blah blah. Yun lang. That's those are some of the tips, no, for this certain client. Now, if you cannot give or if you don't have time to help them or serve them with your consultation, then look for another client. Don't be afraid to reject them. I think this is one of the last one. Hindi pa pala. Mrs. I emptied my bank account for this. Ito yung mga kuripot na clients. What you can do, kuripot clients, what you can do is to agree upfront on what scope is the project, what are the specific deliverables, what are the deadlines, and sometimes they would really try to get most out of your service. And again, just like the previous clients, you can say that you will be adding an extra charge for this kind of service because this is not part of what you have agreed. Yan lang. Another client is, what's a weekend? Ito yung mga clients na hindi nila alam yung holidays, yung Saturdays and Sundays, they keep on sending emails at dawn. Probably most of the time they are sending you the client brief Friday 6 p.m. and that's already your your personal time that's consuming.
TGIF.
So don't be afraid, no? Don't be afraid to say no if what do you want will take too much of a toll on your team or for yourself. So again, what you can another thing that you can suggest, maybe you can hire an account manager to properly set the timetable, properly set the deadline, so that on my end I can work with a reasonable amount of time. I can work properly with the deadline so that I can give you the best output I could without rushing, without the time pressure involved. Mrs. I hate that for no reason. Probably because he doesn't hate your output. Probably because he hates you as a person. No, maybe he has a personal grudge from you, but he or she has no choice because he needs your service. So what do you do for this certain client? Well, don't ask for their favorite color. Ask what they want to accomplish. Display your expertise by recommending options that achieve that certain goal. If they're still unhappy, well, consider again rejecting them. Miss, I want won't this take 5 minutes? He or she firmly believes she can do what you do in a much shorter time frame than it is possible. Sometimes feeling expert, ito yung mga client na mga feeling expert sila. Yung para sa kanila, it's easier or it's easy to do what you're doing. So what do you do if you encounter this kind of client? Well, as this person is clearly detached from reality, hindi niya alam yung realidad na ganito pala yung mga nangyayari sa process ng pag-create ng deliverables mo. Tell her why what she wants won't take 5 minutes. Explain her, educate the client. Educate the client about your process, about how you create this certain project, how you create, for example, a logo, how you create a poster, how you create content writing, ganon. Depende sa kung anong projects na binibigay nila sa iyo, explain them why this won't take only 5 minutes. Because number one, probably you have your own process, you have your own pace, you're making sure that the job is well done, the job is maganda talaga when it reach the client's table. Ito naman, Mr. and Mrs. Decision by committee. This one is very stressed. They are one of the stress givers. I had an experience once na even sa simple typeface lang, nagde-decide pa sila as a committee, and it really takes or it consumes a lot of time because you have to wait for everyone to reply or for everyone to create a decision for just one simple font, for just one simple color. And honestly, it doesn't really affect the entire process or the overall output. What you can do again is to tell them have a focal person, so that, or you tell them to trust one focal person to talk to, so that the project will be done in a timely manner, so that you wouldn't cram facing the deadlines. So have a focal person. Tell them to have a focal person you can talk to. The lurker, ito naman yung mga brother or cousin ng mga kuripot. They disappear for months at a time, then suddenly barbing you with requests that a new project will be done immediately. Tapos afterwards, if they have given you the client brief, tapos nag-provide ka na ng deliverables mo, you already gave them what they are looking for, mawawala naman sila for a few weeks without the payment. Probably diyan pa sila babayad in a few months, few weeks. That's the worst type of client ever because you do not get paid right after you give them the deliverables. This one's the last client. Miss, I want something completely different. He or she doesn't have a clear mind. No, he doesn't have a clear decision. What you can do here is to create or make a clear additional cost that may apply if he or she is asking a way different design. Na you're not revising anymore, you're creating a new design. So ask them the original price is this one. If you want to have another approach, then that would cost you another or an extra price. So yun, no? So for the designers specifically, here are some. We'll just run through for this one. Types of difficult clients designers usually face. The design expert, ito yung kanina na feeling nila mas they are better on what you do. They are indecisive, confused commander, they don't know what they want again. The ghost, ito yung kanina the last ito siya. The lurker. The ghost. The client who cried wolf. Ito yung client na nako, piniga ko lahat ng pera ko para dito. Why can't you can you do this for me for free? Can you provide me a discount or an additional service, blah blah blah. Ayun, the feedback failure. He fails to really give you a clear feedback, and sometimes if he gives you feedback, he or she doesn't respect your personal time. The penny pinching visionary. Their budget is very tiny, but their expectation is very huge. Have you guys seen a post on Facebook, somewhere in Facebook? I think I saw this last 2019 na yung expectation nila yung dinosaur, yung parang sa yung dinosaur na movie, parang ganon yung expectation nila. So
classic no, ganon.
Oh, ganon. Tapos yung expectation, I mean the reality, yun lang pala yung yung dinosaur when you run out of internet sa Google Chrome. So ayun, so these types of client are really medyo maliit lang yung budget nila, but they're expecting a lot from you. The workaholic, again, this one doesn't know he doesn't know what is the personal time. He doesn't know the weekend. He doesn't know the holidays. Yeah, so that's it. No, those are the types of clients that you may encounter on your freelancing career. I hope you learned something valuable on those.
Finally. Thank you, Kyle. Actually, marami ako na-reminisce ng mga clients na nahawakan ko. And yeah, natatawa na lang ako minsan kasi it brings back the memories. Okay, so Sydney may itatanong. Sige, Sydney. Okay, take the presenter's mic. You may ask your question. Let's just entertain some questions. Kyle? Okay.
Sure.
Hello, Sir Kyle.
Yes, hello.
Can you share? Yes. Can you share the most difficult client you've had to deal with, and what did you learn from the experience?
As I mentioned kanina, the most difficult client I had to face was the type of client na sinasabi nila 5 minutes lang naman yung it would only take 5 minutes to do your work. Why aren't you done yet? Or yung mga feeling expert, no? They feel like they know what you do and they can do better than you if they know how to if they know how to use the tools that they're using. So one thing that I handled, I really escalated. My emotions really escalated. I got so angry and shouted at my client that if marunong ka pa lang, if para sa iyo marunong ka pa lang ito, and if you feel like you're better than me, if it would only take you a short time, then why can't you do it yourself? What do you need me for? That's those were the words that I said to that certain client. And then ayun, he was shocked that I stood up in front of him. What he realized is that uh, what he is trying to yung gusto niyang ma-achieve is somehow impossible because I stood in front of him. Ganon, I made him realize that what he wants is impossible. Siguro the moment, that's not the right thing to do, especially if you're a freelancer, because of course you need to respect your clients also. But on my case, I really got angry from that client. So one valuable lesson that I've learned from that situation is to really manage your. You need to manage your temper. You need to manage your anger so that you won't lose that certain client. Actually, on my case, no, it's fine if I lose that certain client. I don't need that kind of stress in my life. But for some people, no, maybe you might need finances to support you. Then you might need to really be patient for those clients. But on my case, medyo ano naman, I'm not really in need of clients. So yun.
Thank you for sharing, Kyle. So talaga, there are so many kinds of client. But then, yes, I would agree. Depende rin kasi sa atin as long as clear on the first place kung ano yung mga deliverables and the demands ng client, the better. So, sige, this is just a question lang naman. So, Sydney, thank you for that question. Okay, because sometimes we can be client and sometimes tayo yung clientele. Yun naman yung ating pinag-usapan and what Kyle shared to us. Siguro, question Kyle, if you are going to be or to choose which particular client ka doon sa mga present mong klase ng client?
Actually, I presented kasi the types of difficult clients. Maybe I would be the type of client who micromanages the clientele. Kasi I'm the type of person kasi na perfectionist, almost perfectionist na I want certain things to look good. I want certain things to do to be the best, mga ganun. So I need to micromanage and that client or that clientele. And for them, it somehow medyo para sa kanila medyo irritating 'yan or medyo yun nga irritating kasi but siya nandito, doesn't he trust me if in the first place siya na lang yung gumawa nito, why does he need me in the first place, parang ganon. I just want the best out of my expense, so I tend to micromanage.
All right, thank you, Kyle, for sharing that. Sige, we are in the end part of the program. Any parting words or message na para sa ating mga viewers pagdating sa handling clients? Para clear talaga sa lahat. To recap, to summarize, up to you. Go ahead, Kyle.
Well, siguro the most important thing that I could share to you guys, especially if you you want to pursue in the freelancing industry, if you want to have a really freelancing career, be patient. First,